Alrighty, good evening and welcome to the Resilient Living Podcast. I am Jared Wilson, joined by my friend Ryan.
Hey, everybody.
Alrighty, well, while we wait for people to trickle in, I've got a new toy in the shop I got to tell you about. This thing is super cool. Okay,
Awesome.
So it's one of those like jump starter packs, 100 watt-hour battery. So 27,000, milliamp hour behemoths of a charge thing. It actually has, okay, check these out. 8-gauge cables. I'm like, dude, that's like legit with like legit clamps. I'm like, dude, this thing's awesome. And it comes in like one of those like really cool, like zip together hard, not like Kydex or hard, but like, hard cases that has all the stuffs and things in it. I like this thing a lot. It's really nice.
That is very cool.
I've been playing with
love those, but like a high quality one.
Right. I've jumped my tractor. I've jumped, cars, like trucks. Like it's supposedly rated to like even like the higher capacity diesels. I don't know if I would do that or not, but like supposedly it can handle diesel, which is considerable.
Yeah, those I've been shocked. Even the cheap, crappy ones do like such a good job that I can't imagine what a really high quality one like that would do.
Right. It's like, heck yeah. And they're not, and the prices have actually come down. They're like, this is, it's under $100, which is, considering what it can do. And just as something to throw in your car. Cause maybe you just needed to, charge up your cell phone. Okay. It can do that. Or maybe you come across somebody who's got a dead battery. It can do that too. So
yeah,
good things to have.
No, I mean, just having the USB backup, because you can charge everything with USB just about at this point.
Right. And then if you've got a small solar setup, you could recharge it with your small little solar setup. Now you're good to go ad infinitum.
Right. Yeah. And, they've got those little power packs that have the solar cell on them.
Yep.
And I have not been especially pleased with those. Maybe they've gotten better, but
they're really slow. I mean, they're really sluggish. Even mine, which has like 3 or 4 additional panels, it like folds out. It still takes forever to charge up.
Yeah. Yeah. The independent fold out ones are going to do a lot better, but the ones that just have like a little tiny panel that's the same size as it, it's going to, it's going to discharge faster just sitting there. I think
right.
Charge up from the sun. So anyways, very cool. I like that a lot. So people might be wondering what we are going to talk about today.
I know,
and
right?
Our topic is the homestead chore trap. Okay, so we've talked about the idea before of like somebody putting a garden at the far end of their property because they don't want to seed it because it's going to get weedy and it's going to get they're going to get their steps in.
Right. Yeah. Which I mean, that's on its surface, that seems like a really good and reasonable, purpose in putting your garden further away. However.
Yeah, but this is a little bit of reductio ad absurdum, right? We're reducing this to the simplest thing to make a point at the moment is that when you want to add something else, now you've got all this time taken away from the time that you could be putting into other things, and you'd still be getting exercise, but you'd be being a lot more efficient about it.
Yes.
And so that's kind of, like I said, the reductio ad absurdum, the reduce it to its base core so people can understand it. But that's what we're going to be talking about today. The way I think of it is when you take on new chores, new projects, how you set them up, think of the chores and the things that you take on your homestead as though it's physical or financial debt.
Sure. So, that's a very real and understandable way of thinking about that, because it's either, taking away time or resources or money.
Right. Exactly.
Or some combination thereof.
Multiples of, yes. And most homesteads, you don't see burnout because somebody's lazy or because they don't want to work hard. You see the burnout because every new thing adds either a little bit or a lot of it of something, oftentimes that you didn't expect or didn't plan for.
I resonate hard on that one because every time I'm surrounded continually by all of the things to do, and I pick certain ones, but inevitably the things that I didn't pick, I feel guilty for not doing those ones instead. Like how
Sure.
it's like I failed, like, because I didn't get it all done. It's like, no, you've got to prioritize certain things. And yeah, the priorities might change over time, but you have to prioritize something.
Mhm.
But then when they stack up like what you're talking about, where you're just adding on additional things like, oh, well, I've got chicken, so now on to goats or whatever.
Right.
You without building that supportive infrastructure, but with those supportive systems that alleviate potential pinch points and difficulties and time consuming, especially, at least in my life, because I'm in the shop for most of the day, so I have to be really judicious with my time in the mornings and the evenings. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and there's multiple things I kind of want to hit on here, like right off the bat, so people understand where we're going and how to think about this. One is that more of something doesn't necessarily mean you get more on the other side of it, right? So my friend Nicole Sauce, who we had on the program a bit ago, she
Yeah.
talks about this in her. I think she did 12 tomato plants one year, and she got an awesome harvest, had tons of tomatoes, and she's like, well, if I do 10 times more tomato plants, I'll get 10 times more production, right?
No.
No, because she couldn't keep up with it. And so she got a fraction of the production that she got out of 12 plants with 120 plants. And not
And a
only
whole lot
that,
more heartache.
right, a whole lot more heartache, a lot more cost, a lot more time
Yeah.
put into it because she's trying to keep all those plants going. And if you miss one step somewhere along the way, there goes my light.
Oh.
If you miss one step somewhere along the way, what ends up happening is the entire thing kind of falls apart, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't weed it properly, if you don't water it, if you don't check on, if you don't get your seedlings started the right way or at the right time, or maybe even you harvest it, but you run out of time because you harvested all of it and now you don't have time to process it, right? Or you don't
Right.
have enough
Yeah.
cans to process it, or whatever the case may be. If you miss it somewhere in that process, if you're brooding chicks and your chicks get too cold or too hot, somewhere in that process, or something happens and you lose the entire. I mean, it's heartbreaking,
Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely.
And so oftentimes doing more ends up making you less, and you have to realize where that boundary is.
Yeah, those incremental growths, those achievable, and that's really having those achievable goals. Like, you don't need, if you're taking on rabbits, you don't need more than a buck and a couple does,
Mhm.
really, to get going and figure out the whole system and how it's going to work, and if you're going to do it in pins or if you're going to do, in the ground and whatever, and run it for a season. Figure it out before you
Right.
go and expand to, because I mean, like, what, a couple doe and a buck will give you a couple 100 pounds a year.
Yeah, I think it's about 3 does and 1 buck will give you about 2 to 300
Two,
pounds
three
per
hundred.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
Um,
lot of meat. Like
yeah.
that. I mean, because we're trying to offset. We're trying to not necessarily completely replace because
Mhm.
of the incremental growth. Like, and once you've taken, even if you only did like a couple percentage points of your overall protein intake as being rabbit, you're better off than you were before. It's cleaner meat. You know what it ate. You're not having to go to the store to buy it. So yay. And then the next year, maybe you introduce another doe. Maybe you introduce a couple more does because you're like, I've got this dialed in. I know what is going on. I know how to deal with, their health concerns, whatever. I've got a good resource. Maybe you've got great community and somebody's, can support you in that. Fantastic. Then grow.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of those who are, our audience members and things are going to be thinking about preparedness, right? And rabbits are an excellent example of preparedness. You can keep them going. You can really get them dialed in, figure them out, figure out what they like, what their diseases look like, how to
Yes.
take care of them, how to keep them healthy, how to keep them as happy as possible, as comfortable as possible. Do it with a few, get used to it,
Yeah.
make some meat along the way that's better for you than it otherwise is.
Oh,
But,
heck yeah.
if you know one other person with rabbits, now you can essentially breed out as many as you want because you've got access to
More
disparate
genetics.
genetics, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so rabbits are a great example. Like you don't need to go and make all of your meat the first year that you have rabbits. You if you get the system down, now you've paid off that debt, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like Dave
So,
Ramsey
so
talks
then
about.
you're operating debt free.
Yeah, yeah. So that's how I think of it. At least it's like if I've got a mortgage, that's debt, and somebody has some type of say over my own home. When I pay that mortgage off, it doesn't mean that there's nothing that the house doesn't need anything more. There's no more money to go into the house because there is
Right.
maintenance, but
Yes.
I'm debt free on it because the mortgage is gone. And
Mhm.
that's how we need to look at, and it now becomes an asset. So there's a side of it that's still a bit of a liability, but because it's paid off, there's things I can do and ways I can use it as an asset to me.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. And obviously, there's limitations to the analogy, but yes, absolutely.
Well, yeah, there are limits, but let's take the analogy a little further, right? So
Okay.
now I've got the debt paid off on my house and I've got that amount freed up. Now I can take on my next project, which maybe that's a rental property.
Hey, there you go. Yeah.
Right? And so now I can pay what I was going to be paying towards rent or towards my mortgage towards this rental property. I can again take on a little bit of debt to bring in an asset. Then I can pay that off over time once I get it all figured out. Once I, pay towards it myself, once my renters pay something towards it and keep
Right.
the mortgage on that going, etc. And then once I've done that, I can actually pour that into the next thing and I'm going to have more each time in theory if I manage it properly. But if I manage
Yeah.
it
Well,
poorly, I'm just taking on
yeah.
debt.
Exactly. And I say that's a really important aspect of the debt analogy because, and I think it's very applicable, is we shouldn't take on assets that can't result in some appreciable return.
Mhm.
Um, Too often we will see people taking on debts for things that can never return. It's just an asset. It's just a thing that just exists. And
Right.
that's not what we're talking about. We want something that will actually have an appreciable return to us and become a resource for us in our life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just like, the getting a rental, like if I buy a rental that's not livable and I try to rent it out or I don't do anything with it and I sit on it,
Right.
it becomes a liability, a problem. It starts to rot away. It gets worse than it already is. So I guess I'm just, trying to hammer that idea in as we talk through maybe more of the actual projects that you can do on a homestead
Yeah. Yeah.
that when we take on these projects, they're exciting, they're fun, but it's like the debt snowball from Ramsey, right?
Right.
Because I think a lot of people are going to already be a little bit in this multiple things going at once debt cycle.
Yeah.
And even to some extent I am. I've got stuff that I shouldn't have that I should get rid of. And now I've got
Yeah.
to get rid of it. Um,
Right.
as I've learned how to pare down appropriately. So we're all going to be there to some extent. Um, and yeah, I think thinking of that debt snowball that Ramsey talks about, where you pay one off, do the easiest thing that you can get working 100% as quickly as
Right.
possible. And then you're going to have time to do and resources to do the next thing. And don't take on anything until you've paid these things down enough that you've actually got enough time to do the next thing that you want without overwhelming yourself.
Right. Okay. So in the context of the homestead, what does that look like? What is it? What type of a projects are we talking about here?
Well, just about everybody who homesteads has chickens. So let's
There you
go
go.
there.
It's a good
Right.
one.
Yeah. So chickens that are not properly confined, do not have proper watering and food systems, do not have any type of automated systems, whether dumb or smart.
Right.
Those chickens are going to cause you problems, right? They get picked off by hawks. They won't lay very many eggs because they're not getting their feed consistently. They might die
They're
of
stressed or yeah.
dehydration or being stressed, being too hot. They might be getting out and getting into your flower beds and digging those up. So you're constantly repairing those.
Right.
or getting into your garden and digging your garden up and destroying the plants that you've been waiting on for a couple of months and that were just starting to produce. It's never happened
Right.
to me. Um, so making sure that you have the proper systems in place for your chickens is going to remove most of those issues. And if it doesn't remove most of those issues, you've still got work to do.
Right. Yeah. So identifying those heartaches, those pinch points. And I liked one of your things you outlined there was like a bad gate or a sticky gate,
Mhm.
which is a for personal, life here. The previous owner built a fence and he didn't make the gate wide enough for my tractor or for a tractor to fit through. And so I have to drive all the way out and around my whole property line out to get back to the back section. And it is so frustrating every single week when I'm out there trying to, brush hog this or cut a new line. I have to drive all the way out and around, and it's really frustrating. So yeah, I feel that
Yeah.
one.
Well, and that example that you gave, it's little things. It's a small amount, but what are all the different things that are going on? One, you're wasting time.
Yeah.
Two, you're wasting
Fuel.
gas or
Yep.
fuel, I should say. It's probably diesel, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you you're going to be wearing your tires out. You're going to be wearing your machine out more than you have
Yep.
to. You're going to be putting yourself and others at risk because you have to go on a road to get to the backside, right?
Right.
Um, so you're just doing all these things that if you just put a gate in or you just have a gate there, and especially had your previous owner designed it with a gate in it
Right.
properly, your life would be so much easier.
So,
At
so
least
much.
that little
And yeah,
bit.
for that little thing. And that's this. It's the culmination of all these little things when you're having to there's no water spigot out there at all.
Mhm.
So, either I'm running a long hose and having to move it continually or having my children do it. Or I'm having to, fill up a barrel and haul it out there in the tractor in the front loader or whatever. That's a lot of like you said, time and resources and maintenance and wear and tear that's really not necessary for want of just a little more infrastructure or just to stop and fix that issue instead of just pressing on like, oh, it's not that much to just drive around. Well, but it does add up.
Mhm. Well, and what happens if, we can't get fuel? Where are you stuck then?
Right.
I know a lot of people who have, I was just watching somebody yesterday drive their four-wheeler out to where their chickens are to feed them and to to move things
Oh,
around.
wow.
And they've
Yeah.
set things up such that they rely constantly on this four-wheeler to get everything done. And it's like it's fine to add in, force multipliers like four-wheelers, like tractors,
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
Right. Machinery is great, but don't set up your system so that you have to rely on
It's
the
reliant on
machinery
it.
just to
Yep.
do base functions.
Yeah. One of my customers came in, speaking of four wheelers, and that was exactly his issue. He bought a newer four wheeler, awesome, great unit, but then all of a sudden it just stopped running reliably. So he
Mhm.
came to me asking because he knew that I worked on four wheelers and things, and I'm like, well, for certain things, yes, but for that specific manufacturer, I need to have their computer software and their interfaces to be able to deal with those issues. And so he was kind of stuck because he couldn't get it fixed. So he was having to completely redesign his off-grid, housing setup because he couldn't get around because he didn't have his four-wheeler.
Right. Yeah. And so setting it up like that and it works okay, I guess. Well, it works.
It
It's
works.
like, yeah, it's like, what is my backup plan? Do I have an extra four wheeler and a whole bunch of extra gas stored? There's
Right.
complications with that then as well. So, removing, in your case, removing a little bit of debt by running a water line. Yes, that's a
Yeah.
project, but it's a project to an end. It fixes an issue for you. So you're investing a little bit of time up front to pay off the debt to get on to the next thing.
Hmm. Well, it
So
opens up so many more other avenues because if I had water back there, then, like that makes it easier to run animals in the back because I can have a water trough with a, automated, um, you know, level, float style, filler.
yeah,
Um,
float valve.
which would be awesome. It'd be
Mhm.
super cool. Instead, I'm running a hose out there and putting a timer on it. And then, I look at it and go, yeah, it's about 15 minutes worth of, of fill. It's
Sure.
fine. It gets it there. But like, it'd be so much nicer to just have a hard line out there and just be done with it.
Right. Yeah, and even if you turned it off just in case, the float
Yeah,
stopped working or whatever,
sure.
at least you don't have to worry about it when you have it on.
Well, and every time it freezes, like I've got to make sure that the hose is completely drained because I don't want to split my hose because,
Mhm.
150, 200 foot of hose is a lot of hose.
Right. Yeah. Some other examples would be things like, let's say, having backup systems that you haven't tested for a long time or you haven't thought through.
Yeah.
So this could be wood heat, and you don't think about how well seasoned your wood is or how close it is to the house until the ice storm hits.
Right.
And now it's like down the hill in a
Oh, no.
shed that you
Yeah.
can't get to anymore because it's covered in
Right.
ice. Um,
Yes.
so thinking through these systems and having them truly ready rather than because your backup systems could actually become a burden
Primaries.
to you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Right. Yeah. If they need to become primary. Yeah.
mhm. Yep. If your generator has a gummed up carburetor and you need it and it's cold and it's going to be hard to start anyways, you've
Right.
now you've multiplied the problems, you've multiplied the debt in that case.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you how many, I think we've talked about this, how many times when I worked at the motorsports shop, people would come in before an ice storm with their generators because they were completely non-functional because their battery was dead and their carburetors were completely gummed up with, ethanol gunked fuel that they
Yep.
didn't drain or run out.
Yeah. So the real main principle here is don't add complexity faster than you add efficiency.
I like that.
So we're going to be adding in your example running the hard line out. Yes, it's a project that took time, but the project now adds so much efficiency to your workload. And so
Yeah.
if we add the two components here, now we put in the big gate so you can get your tractor through.
Be awesome.
Yeah, both of those things should be done before you take on really any animals,
Yeah.
ideally.
Well, and then going sticking with the money analogy, we've added value to the property. We've by increasing this infrastructure,
Mhm.
that I literally have more monetary value in my land because oh yeah, I've got a spigot out there by the barn. Oh yeah, I've got a hard line, that's already below frost layer if you're up north, not here in Tennessee. If there that's value in the land that if I ever needed to sell, I can say, hey, look, this is the infrastructure that I've built into this and it is valuable.
Right. Well, and I think the other thing we should be thinking about here is if you're doing something already, how can you function stack into that? So if
Right.
you're spending $250 and getting a trencher to trench a line out there, what else can you put in that trench? Maybe you
Yeah, no
put
kidding.
maybe you put a second water line in so that when you set up or if you set up water catchment at the house, which is at the top of the hill,
Right.
now you can have tanks that are catching water from the roof of the house that do most of your filling and it's set on an automatic float valve on the watering trough for the whatever animals you end up having or for your chickens or something like that. And so it can be set up to be really useful, but then for now, before you have that set up, you can use city water or well
Yeah.
water or whatever people have, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you could
Oh,
have an extra line to tie on later.
I was gonna say if you're ever in the position where you are trenching, always
Mhm.
throw another line in there because even if you're just going to use it, you might chase electrical down through it. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously space it out appropriately, but um, or like you said, you could run water through it. You can just throw it in there, cap it off, stubbed it out on both ends. That way, you have the option in the future. Like just you're there, do it.
Right. Well, and you could even think of like in your case, I don't think your hill is directly south, but let's say it were. Um,
Okay.
you could put a lean-to on your little barn,
Oh
right?
yeah.
That's so
Right.
the cover the barn in solar panels, put a lean-to on either side of solar panels, use that as a small system to go back to the house as a critical load
Yeah.
solar, and put that in the
Be
same
awesome.
trench, right? So as you're doing these projects, stop, think through the project, think through what you could use or might want to use. And is it worth the, maybe another $200 to throw a 12-2 underground, UF line in the trench with
Oh yeah. Just do
the
direct
other
barrier or
stuff?
whatever. Yeah. Just throw it in
Yeah.
there. Right.
I mean, it's a 20 amp circuit
Yeah.
and it's probably fine. Right.
It'll be fine. Yeah.
I hope no electricians are watching this podcast.
Yeah. Shh.
Matt, if you're watching,
We're
don't
sorry.
call me it. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's so much you could do when you're thinking about that and how you could set it up for resiliency and redundancy. And to your point, if you want to trace it, for example, I've got thousands of feet of coax that I need to get rid of, and I could
Yeah.
throw
Right.
that in there. You could throw a couple in. One is maybe a control wire for something, just low voltage
Yeah.
control stuff or data, or just as a trace line, just so you can hook up a locator to it at some point in the future and be able to know where the water lines go.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, stack
You're
it. Yeah, stack it while you're already doing it.
hmm
The gate, it's going to cost probably, you're looking at $400 because it's a couple
Yeah.
hundred
Probably.
bucks for the gate and some cement and a post.
Yeah.
So
Not really a lot, honestly. It's just one of those like round to it, issues. Like I'll get to it eventually. I don't, and
right.
every time I get on my tractor, I was like, I
Yeah.
didn't fix it yet.
Well, not trying to say that you have the time to do it right now, but like if you think about it, how much time
Yeah.
have you wasted? Because at some point you're going to do it. And so how much time
know,
have
right?
you wasted on your tractor going around in a giant circle?
Way more than it would have actually taken to fix. And that's really what we're kind of getting at here is the amount of time of manually hauling water out to your garden versus getting the trencher. The amount of time of driving the tractor around the fence versus cutting the line or cutting the fence and putting in the gate. The amount of time, it adds up. Even if it's
Mhm.
only a couple minutes here, a couple minutes, it adds up.
Yep. Yeah. And you may not do something that you should do because you're like, I don't feel like doing that right now.
Amen.
So, maybe it's maybe you just forget. So a good example would be with chickens. If you've got a coop and you have to close them in every night.
Yeah.
What if you forget and something gets in and kills all of them or half of them or picks one off at a time or whatever the case may be? Right. And it's because you forgot, or maybe you were just so burnt out. You're like, I think it'll be fine tonight. I've got to go to bed. Right.
Yeah. Right.
Whatever the case may be, whether you don't do it because of being exhausted from everything else, which might be part of the same problem.
Yes.
Or you forget to, well, you could automate that. You could go get an automated door and you still should go check it each night to make sure, because those automated doors can fail. But
Sure.
batteries run out, whatever. They get wood chips in them so they don't close all the way. So you should still check it. But if you don't, it's a lot less likely to be catastrophic.
Mm-hmm.
So
Very, very true.
Same with backup water systems, so you could have two water systems. In my case, I use a giant 55-gallon drum. So
Yeah.
it lasts for a very long time, but I still go and check on it every couple of days.
Oh yeah. I mean, imagine you're checking several different aspects. Is it full? Is it growing algae? Is it sprung a leak? I mean, yeah.
Right. Yep, exactly. My ducks would love it if it sprung a leak. They will, they'll get, like, I've got these cups, kind of nipple cups, and they have to put their beak in to get the water. And the ducks will hold it there until it fills up because they need to get their bill in and
Beak down. Yeah.
yeah. And kind of, they do this thing where they clean out their nostrils and stuff. So they kind of have to, but of course, when they're bored, they just let it run over. So they can make a mess.
Stinkers.
Yeah. Make a muddy mess there. So anyways, those are just a few things with chickens that you can do, making sure they're run. So the outer fence part is really secure. Going through, maybe even putting in, like, I flare the bottom out, and then
Oh yeah,
I put like blocks, so paver blocks over the top of it, and then wood chips. What happens is the grass eventually
goes
grows
up through it.
through, and so I can basically mow over it, but then I don't have to dig it in, which a lot of people do.
Sure. And yeah,
Um,
nothing can dig down to get around under it. So yeah.
right. Yeah, because whatever is going to try to go dig under it is going to go up against the fence and start to dig, and they're going to hit the fence and give up.
Yeah.
So they don't know to go back, 12 inches and try from there.
They're not that smart.
No.
Opportunistic little buggers.
Yep. So, before you start the next project, before you get rabbits and you already have chickens, get your chickens dialed in.
Sure.
Get that system really good. Learn that animal really well, before you take on the next one, so that you're not dealing with this project debt.
So what would you say would be a good indicator for somebody to self-evaluate whether they're ready to take on additional stuff?
I guess it really comes down to, is the system that you already have um, dialed in? Like, do you feel that there's something that could go better, or do you find yourself going, oh crap, or that's a disappointment? Like, if those are consistent things, that's always going
Yeah.
to happen on the homestead. You're always going to lose an animal,
Oh yeah,
or
that happens. Stuff
have
happens.
this
Yeah.
have the squirrels steal all your peaches. Uh, Definitely didn't happen this year to me. Um,
Oh, that
I
sucks.
know, they're looking so good. Um, so every once in a while you should have that, and that's just
Sure.
maybe there's room for improvement. Maybe I learned something
Yeah.
here. But if that's consistent, if you have a consistent, oh crap, or
Yeah.
you know that's too bad kind of a situation, then
Right.
there's something that needs improvement before you move on to the next thing.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. So for me, I think it would be, can I go on vacation? And if I
Mhm.
do go on vacation, how difficult is it to explain to somebody else how to do all the things?
Mhm.
The more convoluted it is, that means I have systems that need to be refined. Because
Right.
I was thinking about so in terms of like, so I, at my church, I oversee all of the technical ministries, and so live streaming and audio and lighting and all of this stuff. And so the easier and cleaner it is to be able to hand it off to somebody and say, hey, this is the process, this is the checklist, this is the procedure for doing whatever.
Yeah.
um the better I think that system has been developed.
That's an awesome point. And let's say you kind of take care of a way of pressure testing this would be, let's say you take care of the chickens or you take care of the rabbits.
Yeah.
And first of all, just in the fact, or just in the action of like writing out a procedure,
Hmm.
you will think through what you're doing and how you do it and if it makes sense.
Right.
So yeah, preparing for a vacation, I think, and thinking about somebody taking care of it who doesn't know the system. And then the second part of the pressure test, if you pass that one, is handing that procedure to your spouse or a kid or something like
Yeah.
that and
Right.
going, follow this.
Read through this. Yeah.
Yep. And not like standing over them, but once they've done it, like look and see, okay, what was done and how was it done? And if something was done wrong, don't don't blame them first.
No.
Assume it's your fault. Look
Yeah.
over,
I didn't
look over.
explain something. I made an assumption, because we make assumptions. We get so used to seeing the same thing over and over and over again that we don't see it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think if let's say you gave one of your kids instructions and it said, lock up the shop. They're like, okay, I'll, turn the key here and I'm good, right?
Right.
But you may have a whole procedure that you go through that
Yep.
is lock up the shop to you.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's a really great point. How would I explain this to somebody? How would I give somebody the procedure if I was going on vacation, and could they do it? So yeah, it's I'm trying to think of there's a quote that I think would fit, but I can't quite think how it goes. So once, being able to like teach somebody else is kind of that point of mastery,
Yeah.
where if you could teach somebody else how to do it simply, that means you've probably got it down pretty well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think I might even know which quote you're going for. It's as we learn more things, we tend to overcomplicate them, but then as we really truly grasp and understand them, we can really explain them even to a kid.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a hallmark of truly understanding and knowing your subject is being able to distill it down to being very digestible and simple.
Right. Um, I don't know if we talked about it during the mental maps, but do you remember the Dunning Kruger curve?
Yes.
I don't think we talked about it though.
I think I know because you start learning and you think you know, and then you get to the point where your confidence basically overwhelms or surpasses your ability, and then you go down the other side to the point where you know that you know nothing.
Mhm.
It's
Yes.
beautiful.
Yeah, that's essentially it, is that you hit this really, like, in first studying something, you hit this extremely high rate of confidence that you know exactly what it is and exactly how it works. And it's like you, because you discovered something that is probably true on one level,
Yeah.
but you only know this little tiny sliver of what it actually is. And then, like, as you actually start to learn, your confidence goes way down very, very quickly if you're actually learning. If you don't learn, you're just staying up here on that peak. Um, and then that goes way down. And then at some point, you hit this like plateau right at the bottom. It's called like the Valley of Despair or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And then it starts climbing back up, but
Back up.
never gets to the point of confidence that you originally had when you first started learning.
Yeah. Well, which is the true point of wisdom, right? It's
Mhm.
like that's like you understand that you know you will not ever know everything and that there's always something to learn. And I can learn from people who have just begun. I mean, playing guitar, I've learned from people I was teaching. Like they'll do something, I'm like, whoa, hold on, let's stop, how did you do that? Like, teach
Right.
me that.
Cool. Yeah, and that there's so much value in that. I think even Einstein had like questions about special relativity and was it accurate. And there's been discoveries made later that give you, there's so much where it's like you don't know what you don't know, but that is the beginning of wisdom, is recognizing and
Right.
seeing what you don't know.
Yeah.
So my point in that is, in all of that, is that if we're really high on that Dunning Kruger curve
Oh,
when we're setting up our own systems,
yes.
we're going to have a lot of confidence that it's a good system and that somebody else can run it. And the further along we get in managing that, the more we realize the flaws in it.
Yep. Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah, being able to step back, honestly observe, and recognize where we don't know what we don't, or we know what we don't know, we're so much further along than when we don't know what we don't
Right. Yeah, that's dangerous.
know. Right. Um, yeah. So, we're going to take these steps to, as much as we can, optimize before expanding anywhere.
Oh yeah, right.
Um, some of these things might be, we might look at our chickens and go, well, I really want to make more from my land for my chickens, so I'm not as reliant on something.
Yeah.
That's great, because we don't want to be reliant on the
Yeah,
feed
chicken
store.
feed. Yeah,
Right.
right.
But that's another project, right?
Yes, it is.
It's another learning curve. And so
Yeah.
we need to recognize, and it's not going to have an immediate payoff like putting your water system in that you talked about.
Fair enough. Yeah. 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 Getting a pelletizer, growing the crops necessary to, make those pellets if you're going to do that, or, whatever silage or whatever you're, planning on utilizing. Yeah.
Mhm. And will your chickens even eat it?
Your Oh, I hadn't even considered that. Perfect
Yeah.
example of me not knowing anything about chickens. Oh,
Right. Because it's like mulberry has an awesome, protein profile,
yeah.
and your rabbits will eat it like crazy.
Yeah.
In
But not
some cases, if it's mixed with other grains and things, chickens will eat it. And it does pretty, like they do pretty well with it. They'll still continue to produce eggs if they have the right mix. But you can't just like throw silage variety of tree hay from a mulberry tree to chickens and think that they're going to eat it and they're going to stop
sure,
producing eggs.
sure.
That's what you try. So it's
Not
a
bueno.
process. No, it's a process. You've got to take the thing on, you've got to try it out, you've got to experiment with it. And so you're taking on that debt until you learn it enough to know what you don't know and make those
Right.
corrections.
True, true. Oh, there's a parenting is a good example of that curve.
Fair.
The irony. That's my mom.
No, I'm a perfect parent.
Right. I know I ain't.
Yeah, I'm on the wrong side of that curve, I think, if I say that.
Right. So I feel like we're continually learning. It's like, well, I screwed that up. Like, maybe I'll do better. Nope, didn't.
Sorry, everybody. We've been, I personally have completely missed the chat because we're on a new program and
Very
kind
good.
of forgot about it.
Oh, chickens hate veggies. Oh, got some carnivorous chickens.
They will always eat bugs first, for sure.
Yes.
They're omnivores.
That was a whole nother system that I was looking into yesterday. Was growing grubs for chicken feed. And I was like, oh nope, don't do that. Don't do that. Because and this when you said that this was the subject, I'm like, yeah, this is perfect because I need to hear this.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me about what you learned. What you learned.
I was just
you
researching.
Didn't know.
Yeah, I was just researching all the different types of grubs there are and the different, what they feed on. Because I'm trying to build a system that works. So it's like, okay, I need to have a grub that grows in this area that consumes something that I can produce or is more preferably a byproduct of something that I produce. And so I was just kind of going around in the circle of unending research.
My experience has
Yes.
been that black soldier flies for our region are probably the best and easiest.
And that was definitely on the list of recommended. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah.
They will eat a lot of different things, including meats, fats, basically any type of food you throw in there, they'll eat.
Yeah, that's what the guy had it was part of his composting system was he used black soldier flies as part of that.
Yep. Yeah, their frass is awesome. So their poop that they leave behind,
yeah.
They're self-harvesting. Yeah. Yep, black soldier fly larva.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rocky knows what's up.
Absolutely. And they'll show up on their own too. I've had like feed that just got wet because
right.
somebody left the feed lid off.
Uh-oh.
And the black soldier flies will just show up and they'll basically, once they're there, once the larvae are there, they'll exclude any other flies or anything else. They'll keep them all out.
Interesting. Aggressive little buggers.
So you could, again, this is adding something that you need to sort out over time and nail down before you move on to the next thing. But you could add some black soldier fly bins and talk with some restaurants about taking their waste food, the food that gets scraped off the plate before it goes into the dishwasher. You could take that on and it can actually be fairly low quality food. And these black soldier fly larvae, they're the bacteria and things in their guts is going to break most of that down.
Sure.
With the exception of maybe plastics, but tiny bit of residual something on the lettuce, they'll break it down. It's not going to be an issue by the time it gets to the egg from the chicken.
Gotcha.
So you can go and get restaurant food. I wouldn't recommend like McDonald's or something, but you can go and get restaurant food. Work with a local restaurant. Tell them you're composting it because they're not allowed to give it to you for feeding animals.
Right.
Black soldier fly larvae, they're making compost, right? So it's not untrue.
Right.
Not untrue if you give it straight to your chickens because they're making compost because they poop it out, mix it, all that.
This is true.
I mean, it's slightly deceptive, but it's still true. So anyways, you can do that. And once you get that system dialed in, you can produce a ton of black soldier fly, which you can then freeze for the winter if you want to.
Nice. Good protein for, over winter.
And so you're
Like,
bringing inputs into your system that are essentially free, minus your, consider your time, because that's part of what we're talking about today.
yes, that is yes.
All right. So the next part of this whole system that I want to talk about is combining systems for efficiency.
Mm-hmm. Which actually kind of what we were just talking about. I mean, like,
Yeah,
yeah, you're saying, hey, I want to have, you know, a different protein source for my chickens, so we're going to combine that in with black soldier flies, and that's going to tie into vegetative waste and whatever else I've got leftovers from the farm. Yeah, so it's stacked. It's awesome.
exactly. And the chicken system is with the garden is one of the things that we talk about fairly often because it's low hanging fruit to kind of exemplify this idea where if you put the chickens near the garden, all the garden waste can go to the chickens
Just throw it over the
over
fence.
the fence. Yeah. So it's way easier. And then if we make it a swapping system, so the chickens move over to where the garden was the previous year, we're letting the chickens do the work for us. And so we're combining a system to dramatically reduce our work and improve the output and outcome rather than having these disparate systems that start taking more of our time.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you using, it's like having the duck water, with a dump flush going straight into your orchard.
Mhm.
Like, otherwise, you'd have to deal with all the poopy duck water, yuck, and then your orchard needs nutrients, expensive. If just think a little bit ahead and put your duck pond just slightly above your orchard and let it flow.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And so that's a great example too, where now we're taking what the ducks do naturally, which is poop as soon as they get into the water, and we're doing multiple things with it. One, we're stopping them from pooping all over the yard or orchard or wherever they are, or they're not doing it nearly as much.
Right.
So you get less of the walking through the yard barefoot and getting something squishy between your toes,
Ew.
right? But then we're also able to then send it somewhere where it's being used
Yeah.
and we're not wasting water that we're flushing constantly through that pond. We're not wasting the fertility of what the ducks are putting out, so we're recycling that into the system. So yeah, we're reusing and recycling and turning things back in, but it's also making it easier on us, more pleasant for us, less
Mhm.
problems and waste.
Yeah. Well, then, like, let's say, like where I have a pretty steep hill, and if I were to do a dump running down that line, I'd probably end up cutting a valley, right down that. So, doing little mini swales. If I'm going to plant some trees down there, I might do some little mini swales just to slow it down, give it time to soak down deeper into the into the hillside,
Mhm.
allowing those tap roots to run a little bit deeper, utilizing that nutrients a little bit longer and further. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, if you put those swales in, you're going to have less issues with starting trees because you've got a swale system that's going to keep the land a lot more hydrated than if you didn't. And
Mhm.
so, people think about planting trees and now they have to water them all the time. Well, just make a slight change, put that swale in, which reduces or eliminates the need to water, and then also plant the trees at the right time of year. And now you've taken back a lot of money that you would spend if you're using, city
Yep.
water, which isn't going to be as
Time,
good for the
money.
trees. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Your time setting this all up, your time watering constantly, you're taking that back for some other purpose. And so by yes, taking some time and money to put into the swales first, it took time and money up front, but you actually get to reap the rewards and
For
spend a lot less.
years and
Yes,
years to come,
exactly.
especially when it comes to like orchards, because I mean, that's a long-term investment. So even if it was, dozens of hours up front, it's still going to save you tremendously over the course of the orchard's life.
Yep. Yeah, I had somebody asking me recently or making the comment that, well, those swales fill in eventually and you have to clean them out for them to keep working. I'm like, yes, if they fill in, they've done their job and
They're
you don't
done.
have
Yeah.
to clean them out because
Yeah,
they've done their
exactly.
job, right? They've held all that nutrient as it comes down the hill. They've created for you a little tiny terrace And if they fill in, that's awesome. That means they've filled in with organic matter and you've got really great soil there.
Yep.
And they'll still slow spread and soak water, just not quite
Yes.
as much.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah. If they fill in with debris over time, great. That's exactly what they're for.
Yep.
So yeah, I like the swales as an example as well. So I guess, we're really hammering this in, but the more of these systems that we can solidify and get really dialed in, the less debt we have on the homestead.
Yeah. Yeah. When you can just roll one debt system into the next, like, okay, we've mastered this one. Let's roll it into, and I guess some of this is like, okay, before I met you, I didn't know much about any of this stuff. So I think a lot of this is also just this community, this knowledge transfer, where if I didn't even know that that was a possibility or an option, I wouldn't even know to think about that, which is part of that curve, I guess, is the not knowing side of the equation.
Right.
And that's why this is super, super important. So like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Shameless plug. Is because we like the more we can get this information out there, the more becomes a resource and a benefit to others who may be struggling with a system that they don't know that there's an alternative to, or
Right.
there's a better way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the more people we can kind of get off that high point of the curve and down the other side. But when you're kind of in that, what are they, the valley of despair or whatever
Yeah.
they call it, having community there to go, yeah, you're right. You kind of don't know anything, but
But that's
it's okay.
okay.
And you recognize that. So let's build. Why don't we come over and I'll show you how to do this thing?
Absolutely.
Why don't we, when we do it, let's do a class at your place and have a
Yeah.
bunch of people over so they can all learn the subtleties of it.
That'd be rad.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Community is a huge part of this and a huge part of getting past that. Like, I recognize that I know nothing.
Right.
So yeah, it's super valuable.
So what other kind of combined systems were you thinking of?
It's a good point. Or a good question. I'm sure there are a ton
I mean,
of them.
the garden scraps and the chickens compost, that's like, hands down, I think that's the homesteader's best friend.
Yes. Well, I think, running multiple animals after each other. So
okay. Yeah.
this could be running cows, then running sheep, and then running chickens.
Sure.
Right? And spreading it out. So when you run cattle through and you run chickens behind them,
They go and scratch.
they'll scratch, exactly. And you space it out intentionally in time so that the chickens are 3 days behind the cattle.
Okay.
Because it takes about 3 days for the flies to lay eggs and for the larvae to hatch out.
And that's what's going to drive them to go rip apart the patties.
Exactly. And
Perfect.
they're going to drive down the fly populations dramatically because they're hitting it at just the right time.
Right on.
So,
yeah, because they're still in larval state, not, they've not airborne.
Exactly. Yep. So you can do that. You can use pigs to clear land that can then be used for other things later, including more pigs or sheep or whatever else. So we can stack these things together. We can give the animal the job that they're supposed to have, figure out what it is and utilize it. And that becomes a benefit to us. But that's part of the learning process.
Yeah. Right.
And
I was talking to somebody about pigs and they were talking about like, oh, they're just, they're all stinky and they're in these little pens and they're walking through the feces. I'm like, it's because that's not their natural habitat.
Yeah.
Like if you put them where they like to be, like, in the woods, it's fine.
Yeah. No, they don't smell at all. I mean, pigs are actually,
they're pretty
like
fastidiously clean, actually.
Yeah, they're a fairly clean animal in one sense. They like rolling in the mud.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, when they're confined, that mud ends up being their own
urine and feces. Yeah.
Right. But when you give them enough space, they're a totally different animal.
Yeah.
Not only that, the pigs that we think of, that pink hairless pig,
oh yes,
is wildly unnatural. Um,
It's like what we've talked about, like, how chickens are the ubiquitous, animal. It's not because they're the best, it's because they're the easiest. it's
right.
it's why pine is the big, the building material. It's not because it's the best.
Mhm.
And those pigs are not the best.
No, they grow out fast and they deal better with confinement than other pigs.
Which is not what we're going for. So,
No.
like, why
Well, and
would
in
we do that?
fact, if you let one of those boars go, with the boar itself will turn back towards by itself will when it's out in nature will turn back towards what a more natural pig would look like. But
Right.
within like a generation or two, it looks they're exactly like a wild boar. Like,
Right.
within like 1 to 2 generations from it, those pigs are basically back to what they were.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it'd be like if you let your if you let your Chihuahua out and it bred with a coyote, and within a couple of generations, it was. But obviously that doesn't work with dogs, but it works with pigs somehow.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, Jared's mother says
Oh,
that pigs like to find a corner and use it as a toilet, and that's true.
yep.
Yeah, they like to separate their spaces and keep the place they live clean, and they
Yeah.
will if you give them the space.
Absolutely.
Yep, rabbits will too.
True. True. Yeah, I've heard that that's one of the issues with using, keeping the nesting box in there for too long, is that they'll turn it into their restroom.
Mm-hmm.
That's nasty.
Yeah, I use low hanging concrete trays.
Okay.
So they like slide in, but they're
Yeah. Yeah.
lower than the rest of the space. And then I put some decomposing wood chips in there. So it's like a little bit of soil, but a little bit of wood chip, and it smells like a forest floor.
Sure.
And they'll hop right down in there, and it'll become their litter box. It's
Sure.
perfect.
And then once they've developed that, it's like, nope, that's the bathroom. Like, that's the bathroom.
Yep. So now instead of having that kind of gross, stinky urine and poop bucket underneath them where it all falls,
Right.
they just go in there and it never smells bad. And I can
you just pull that tray out and clean it out and
Yep, pull the tray out, slide a new empty one in, and then take the other one over to the garden and dump it in the garden.
yes, which is another great,
whatever.
yeah, because rabbit feces is broken down, it's ready to go, like it's compost already. It's amazing.
Yeah, and the urine can be problematic, but if it's getting soaked up by wood chips and soil, it's fine. The same with chicken poop. Actually, people get concerned about it being hot.
Too hot, yeah, right.
Yeah, but if it's being constantly mixed in with wood chips, basically the carbon in the wood chips creates a bond with the nitrogen and ammonia, and stops the smells, stops the hot, because now the nitrogen is having to break those carbon bonds, and so it becomes not really very hot anymore.
Well, as long as you get the wood chips with the open end grain, right?
Yes. Yeah. So wood chips as opposed to wood shavings.
Right.
So yeah, those people will use those terms interchangeably, and it's important that you don't, because they're very different things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because having that exposed end grain allows that to soak up and all of those nitrogen bonds to get broken, but because otherwise it just runs off. It doesn't actually soak in.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, I think, does anybody have any questions in the audience on what we're talking about, or any examples that you've run into? We'd love to hear.
I'd be curious. Yeah, I had one comment on Facebook talking about watering being an issue on one gal's homestead, and I resonate with that. It sucks. Having to constantly move a hose around is really annoying, or God forbid, having to do it bucket by bucket, or having to do a tractor load full or something stupid.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I'm in the same place, and I really I don't have to run a hose very far because all my stuff's pretty close together. But I'd really love to have a hydrant or something closer, where I have to hook up a 10-foot hose, or just leave it hooked up and turn it on, as opposed to busting out the 50 or 100-foot hose. That'd be nice.
Yes. Well, I mean, so odd comparison, but so, at my church, I've got this snake head, for all of the audio cables, and it is so annoying to have to run these 60-foot long cables to get them around to where they need to go. That goes to
Mhm.
the drum kit, and this one goes over. It'd be so nice to have, the individual pockets like in the floor, like this is for an object
Right.
that's here. That's for an object there. It doesn't matter which one. You can put the drum kit over here. You can put the drum kit over there. It doesn't matter. There's ports everywhere.
Right. Yeah, and you knew what they were, and they were always labeled. And
Labeling makes my heart happy.
do you sell a labeler in your shop?
I don't, but that would be hilarious. Like that'd be the most randomly weird, but yet incredibly applicable thing.
Jared takes like 20 hours to research what's the best labeler.
No, see, now you made me want to do it. All right. So
Houses
what
are
kind of
very heavy for aging populations. Yeah, that's they're annoying for everybody.
what's that?
And houses,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, yep.
Hoses are, well, especially good ones. Like you can get the cheap thin ones, but then you're usually not UV stable, and so where are you going to use them? Out in the sun. Like that's where it gets cooked. Yes, I am a nerd. Thank you, Rocky. Love you too, bro.
There should be an S on that.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. And I think, personally from where I'm at, I've been really careful about taking on any new projects. This is one of those places I really try to practice what I preach.
Sure.
So we've got a pet rabbit, we've got ducks, chickens, geese. They kind of all go together. So,
Yeah.
Fowl of various sorts. We've got a garden and 2 orchards, and I'm working on some water stuff. I'm working on a few other things, but we're trying to keep it small so that if I'm gone for the weekend at a homestead festival or something,
Yeah, sure.
My kids can take care of the animals just fine without me.
Nice.
So yeah, we've got I try to keep my place less complex than what people might think based on, what I do. I guess I also have some solar and a few other handful of preparedness things, stuff like that. But,
Sure.
A lot of people would expect that I've got, acres under cultivation or, sheep running all over the place or something. And I don't, because it doesn't make sense. It would be taking on debt that I can't pay off right now.
Yeah. Sure. I very much get that.
So, Jared, anything else you want to add to this conversation? Anything you can think of as we kind of wrap up here?
Not really. It was, I mean, because yeah, like you said, I'm trying to not add more debt, as you would say, to what I've already got going. Because unfortunately for me, like most of my time is tied up in the shop, and so I can't get out except for early in the mornings. Like I'm already up 5:30 doing whatever as much as I can ahead of time. So that's why like this year is the first year we've actually gotten a garden in the ground. And it's going fairly well. I've got, a dozen or more pepper plants going, and they've, already started, going pretty good. And we've got, my son was very excited. He wanted watermelon. He was really adamant he wanted watermelon. So we got several watermelon plants, and they're going pretty good. My daughter wanted blueberries, so we got a blueberry plant that's going pretty good, and mint. We were very selective about where the mint went. It is in a pot, a very large pot, but in a pot.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the type of mint. I've found some that spreads a lot slower than others, and I could always get you some if you want it. But
oh, nice. I think chocolate and there's a chocolate mint and a spearmint, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I've found like see the apple mint that goes crazy. It like just takes over, like sends these big runners out and takes over whatever. So I have to be careful with that one. I forget what the other one is, but I have one that just stays in a pretty nice clump and expands really slowly. So you just harvest it on the edges and it takes care of itself. So
is it mostly a surface grower, or is it rhizomial where it's running out underneath the ground?
So mints are interesting. They're such a wide family,
Yes.
And some of them you can get it either way. Some of them are even just annuals, and
Right.
will pop up later. So um, yeah, you can get all of them, but a lot of them are rhizomial. It's more a matter of how much they spread or how
Right.
quickly they spread and what pattern.
Sure.
So yeah, yeah, they're cool, but it's a good idea to put them in a pot or have some type of designated area for them where you can
Yeah.
kind of
Yes.
cordon them
Right. Yeah.
off.
It's like that's the backyard. Like,
Right.
don't
I
care
mean,
about
they're
that.
great if you get one that spreads really well and kind of takes over a space. Use what it does for what you want,
Mm.
right? So,
Yeah, I'd rather that than most of the grasses that we have around here. So yay.
right.
Oh, I
Mm,
got my crimson clover in, so hopefully that'll be going out into the fields.
awesome.
Stoked. It'll
That
be
stuff's
beautiful.
really cool looking.
Yeah, it
I
is
love the way
because
it looks.
it sits higher than everything, so you can get this layered effect where you got your white clover down low, and you got this crimson popping up through, and I've got it'll be awesome.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, so I think in closing, I want people to think about as their homestead should be like a collected system.
Hmm.
Everything should go together in some way. Everything should complement the other thing. And when two systems are together, they should be making the totality of the system produce more with less effort, as
Yeah.
opposed to producing less with more effort, which is how things tend to go when we keep them separated
Hmm.
or don't appropriately integrate. So keep that in mind every time you pick out a task for your property. I would say, to the best extent that you can, front load that task and make it a task that gives you an overall benefit. So whether that's fixing the water issue so that you spend a lot less time, or the gate, or the whatever it is, getting that thing dialed in before you take on the next thing. And maybe that water system supports a whole bunch of things like your garden and your chickens and your rabbits and your future sheep or whatever it is. You're putting in a system that becomes a force multiplier all the time,
Yeah.
no matter what the situation is, or a time multiplier, I should
Well, in this
say.
case, yes.
Yeah. So those are my thoughts, Jared.
I
You
love it.
want to tell people where they can find you, what you do, all that good stuff?
Sure. I'd love to. Let's be all clever and pop this up. Okay, so I am Jared Wilson. I own Resilient Living. So you can find us online, resilientliving.com, Livin. Um, and I've got all my stores online. But if you're in the Middle Tennessee area and you're anywhere in between, you're near Cookville, Chattanooga, up the 111 corridor, I'm right between Sparta and Spencer. My store is like literally on 111. Um, come in. Yes, I realize it looks really small from the outside, but I've got a lot of stuff in there and it's really cool. So basically we've got everything from firearms and body armor all the way through books on homesteading and herbs and survival. I've got, camping gear and hiking stuff and knives. And for anyone who's looking for Father's Day presents, come to the shop. I got you covered. If nothing else, get a gift card. Um, yeah, and we do classes. I did a women's handgun safety class. We've done CPR classes. I've got a basic land navigation class coming up here shortly. A live firearm safety class after that. So yeah, that's me. And follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I think that's all of them. Yeah. So
Rocky
yes, it
Pines
is a
TARDIS.
TARDIS. It is
Yes.
absolutely a TARDIS. My children I introduced them to Doctor Who. This was a bad idea. Oh my goodness, they are Whovians to the nth degree.
So
It's
I've
great.
never actually seen it. I don't really plan to either because I'm
Oh
sure I'm going to
no.
waste a ton of time on it.
Yes,
Um,
much time. It's wonderful.
but I love TARDIS because my example was a clown car, but it's like
Yes,
that infers clowns, which people don't really like. So it's the TARDIS is much better. Thank you,
it is.
Vic, for that. So I am Ryan Steva. I'm the homestead consultant. You can find me at thehomesteadconsultant.com. I've actually just started putting up some blog posts. So if
Hey,
people prefer reading as opposed to YouTube stuff, I've got 3 of those up now on kind of generally how to. There's 3 different primary things. I think is swales, function stacking, and forget the last one. Sorry, but if you go over there, they're actually, I think, pretty good, pretty readable, and have a ton of really great information. Otherwise, find me on the webs at the Homestead Consultant, just about on any socials. And oh, I was also going to say, if you are a wife or a child who's looking for a Father's Day gift, absolutely go to Jared's store because he's got some awesome ideas, awesome gifts, stuff you wouldn't think of elsewhere, and he's already kind of pre-vetted all those things. So definitely
heck
check
yeah.
that out.
And if you're not already following us or following the podcast, if you want to catch old episodes we've got our channel on Spotify. The RSS feed was still giving me issues because Apple just hates me. I swear Apple's allergic to me. So I still have not gotten the RSS feed figured out for Apple iTunes. But anyway, Spotify, Resilient Living is the name. Yeah, find it there. You can find the easiest way is to go to my Facebook page, and I've got it pinned to the top of my Facebook page, and it'll take you straight there.
Nice. And once the stream is done, I'll try to edit it, and add in the link to it as well.
I
Because
think I put it in the description.
okay, awesome.
I think it
So
did.
if you're watching this after the show, it should be in the description. So then you can go and listen instead of having to watch our beautiful faces. You can go and mow your lawn while you listen to the podcast.
Yep.
So
And they publish every Monday and Wednesday a new episode. So that'll carry us through the end of July.
awesome. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here today with us. We always appreciate all
yeah.
your comments and being a
Yes.
part of it.
Make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all the things, and we'll catch y'all next Tuesday.